You've probably heard a lot of noise lately about April payments, new rules, possible increases, and even talk of an extra $850 showing up in Social Security. And if you're like most people I talk to, you're not just curious, you're concerned. You want to know one simple thing: is my payment coming on time, and is anything actually changing? So let's walk through this slowly, clearly, and in a way that actually makes sense for you. Because starting April 1st, there are some important details about the full Social Security payment schedule, including SSI, SSDI, and retirement benefits that you need to understand. But just as important, there are also a few things not changing, even though many headlines make it sound like everything is shifting overnight. Let's start with what matters most right now. April is one of those months where timing can feel confusing, not because the system is broken, but because of how the calendar lines up. And when that happens, it can feel like something is missing or suddenly added, even when it's simply scheduling. So here's what you need to know first. If you receive SSI, Supplemental Security Income, your April payment is scheduled right at the beginning of the month. That means April 1st is your payment day. That part is straightforward. But here's where people sometimes get concerned. If April 1st falls on a weekend or holiday in some years, payments may arrive slightly earlier, sometimes at the end of the previous month. That can create the feeling of two payments close together and then nothing for a few weeks. But in April this year, things are lining up in a more standard way. So if you're on SSI, you should expect your payment right at the start of the month, no surprises, no skip checks. Now let's talk about Social Security retirement and SSDI payments. This is where the schedule spreads out across the month. And it all depends on your birth date. If your birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th of the month, your payment is scheduled for the second Wednesday of April. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, your payment comes on the third Wednesday. And if your birthday is between the 21st and the 31st, you'll receive your payment on the fourth Wednesday. So instead of one single payment date for everyone, it's staggered. That system has been in place for years. And it's not changing in April. But here's something important that many people overlook. If you started receiving benefits before May 1997, or if you receive both SSI and Social Security, your payment schedule is different. In that case, your Social Security payment usually arrives on the third of the month, not based on your birth date. So right away, you can see why there's confusion. Different groups, different dates, same system. Now let's talk about the part that's getting the most attention right now. The idea of an $850 increase. You may have seen headlines or heard someone say, Social Security is increasing payments by $850. That sounds big. And for some people, it creates excitement. For others, it creates confusion. So let's slow that down and look at what that actually means. There is no universal, automatic $850 increase being added to everyone's monthly Social Security check starting April 1st. That's the truth. But that doesn't mean there aren't increases happening. It just means they're not the same for everyone. What people are referring to in many cases is a combination of factors. For example, some beneficiaries may see higher payments due to delayed retirement credits. If you waited longer to claim your benefits, especially past full retirement age, your monthly payment increases. Over time, that can add up significantly. In some cases, when adjustments are applied or recalculated, the difference can feel like a large jump, sometimes hundreds of dollars. There are also situations where corrections or back payments are issued. If someone was underpaid in the past, or if their record is updated, they might receive a lump sum or an increase going forward. And yes, in certain cases, that amount could be close to or even exceed $850. But again, that's not a standard increase for everyone. It's specific to individual situations. Now let's talk about COLA, the cost of living adjustment. This is the official increase that most Social Security recipients are familiar with. It's designed to help your benefits keep up with inflation. That increase was already applied earlier in the year. So by April, you've likely already seen it reflected in your payments. And while it does raise your monthly amount, it's usually a percentage increase, not a flat number like $850. For many people, That increase might be somewhere between $30 to $100 more per month, depending on their benefit level. So when you hear large numbers being discussed, it's important to ask, is this a general increase or a specific case? Because that difference matters. Now here's something else that often gets overlooked. Even when payments increase, there are other factors that can affect how much you actually receive. One of the biggest is Medicare. If you're enrolled in Medicare Part B, your premium is usually deducted directly from your Social Security payment. So if that premium increases, it can offset part of your Social Security increase. This creates what I call an expectation gap. You hear about an increase, but when the payment arrives, it doesn't feel as big. That's not because the increase didn't happen. It's because something else adjusted at the same time. And understanding that helps reduce a lot of frustration. Now, let's bring this back to April. What should you actually expect? First, your payments are continuing on schedule. There is no disruption to the system. Second, your payment date depends on your benefit type and birth date, as we discussed. Third, if you're expecting a major increase like $850, it's important to check your specific situation. Because for most people, that's not a standard monthly change. But that doesn't mean nothing is improving. For many seniors, even modest increases matter. An extra $40, $60, or $80 a month can help cover groceries, medication, or utility bills. And when you look at it over a full year, that adds up. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say your monthly benefit increased by $50. That might not sound huge at first, but over 12 months, that's $600 more in your pocket. And for many households, that's meaningful. Now imagine someone who delayed retirement and increased their benefit by $200 per month compared to claiming early. Over a year, that's $2,400 more. So while not everyone sees dramatic jumps, the system is still designed to provide steady, predictable support. And that predictability is what matters most. Now let's talk about something I hear often. Why do payments sometimes feel irregular? This usually comes down to timing. For example, if a payment date falls on a weekend or a federal holiday, it's moved earlier. That can create months where payments seem closer together or slightly farther apart. But over time, it balances out. You're still receiving the same number of payments each year. No more, no less. And in April, we're not seeing any unusual calendar shifts that would create confusion like that. So for most people, this month should feel normal. Now I want to address something important. There's been a lot of talk online about new banking rules and how they might affect Social Security deposits. Here's what you need to know. Your Social Security payments are still being sent the same way. If you receive direct deposit, that continues without interruption. If you receive a Direct Express card, that continues as well. There are no new rules in April that suddenly change how your money arrives. Financial institutions may update internal policies from time to time, but that does not stop or delay your Social Security benefits. So if you've been worried about that, you can take a breath. Your payment method remains secure. Now let's talk about who benefits the most right now. People who have recently started benefits after delaying retirement. They tend to see higher monthly amounts. People who had corrections or updates to their records. They may see adjustments or back pay. And people receiving COLA increases earlier in the year. They continue to benefit from that higher base amount. On the other hand, if you've been receiving benefits for a long time without changes, your increase may feel smaller. But again, that's based on how the system calculates adjustments, not a sign that something is wrong. Now here's a small but important point. Taxes. For some beneficiaries, Social Security income can be taxable depending on total income. So if your benefits increase, it could slightly affect your tax situation. Not for everyone, but it's something to keep in mind, especially if you have other sources of income. Now I want to bring this back to something simple. What should you actually do this month? First, check your payment date based on your birth date or benefit type. Second, if you notice a change in your payment amount, take a moment to understand why. Is it COLA? Is it Medicare? Is it a correction? And if you're unsure, you can always review your Social Security statement. Third, avoid reacting to headlines alone. because not every big number applies to every person. And staying grounded in your own situation is the best way to stay confident. Let's go through one more real-life example. Let's say two people both receive Social Security. One sees an increase of $45 per month. The other sees an increase of $120 per month. Why the difference? It could be because of their benefit level. It could be because one delayed retirement, or because one had a recalculation. Same system, different outcomes. And that's completely normal. Now, as we move through April, the most important thing to remember is this: your benefits are still being delivered, on schedule, based on a system that hasn't suddenly changed overnight. Yes, there are adjustments. Yes, there are individual increases. But there is no widespread disruption. And there is no automatic $850 increase being applied to everyone this month. So if you've been feeling uncertain, you're not alone. But the reality is more stable than it may seem. Your payments are coming, the schedule is clear, and the system continues to function as expected. As we wrap this up, let me leave you with something simple and steady. April is not a month of confusion once you understand the timing. It's a month of routine payments, with small adjustments that depend on individual circumstances. So keep an eye on your payment date. Review your amount if needed. And most importantly, stay informed, not alarmed. Because when you understand how this works, you're in control of your expectations. If this helped clarify things for you, you can let me know in the comments. And if you want more simple, clear updates like this, without the noise, you can subscribe and stay connected. Your benefits matter, and understanding them should never feel complicated.